All this is Dr. Mobeen Sayed from DrBeen.com. Welcome to one more show. So look, I just repeated the Dr. Mobeen Sayed message here. So this is our KoolBeens Cafe. This is our little cozy place where we sit down and take coffee, and some of us are soon going to go to bed and we'll have the um, bedtime stories for them. So the first one, this morning, my mic died. So this is the, the mic. It's actually a beautiful mic. It is a Blue Yeti and it died. So I ran to the um, to the local guitar center and I bought this second mic, which is here. This is a Shure SMB7, I believe. It's really expensive and a beautiful mic, but I could not get it set up in time and also prepare the lecture. So it is still sitting here. And then my son lent me his gaming mic. And so our audio may be a little different. This is also Blue Yeti. So that's one that happened. I will work on that mic again. Second thing is, you may notice that I am coughing less. So within 2 days, how did this improve? I still have some occasional cough, but what happened was the following. Just for a demonstration, the cough. So my wife made me chicken broth. That really changed the game. One. Second, guess. So I also did the COVID antigen test and I was negative. I still took something that starts with I, and it is the second day. And here is the outcome. I'm also taking anti-inflammatory as well. So I do not know it is the I or it is meaning is it the Luffy or is it others? Is it combined plus this chicken broth? But all of them. This is why the randomized controlled trials try to do one drug at a time so they know which drug is doing what. So anyways, in my controlled trial, n equals 1, these three things came together and here I am. So Lufimectin Skyfrog, Luffy, Lufimectin. I've been taking Lufimectin, and Denise, Luffy. So, and then I take ibuprofen. So ibuprofen, Lufimectin. I did take one aspirin for last 2-3 days because if there is any propensity for, let's say, blood clots happening, then I wanted to get ahead of that. DDS is doctor. Of course, I would only experiment on myself and nobody else. So, and then this morning I had this little, I love it, chicken broth. So maybe all of them, or maybe one of them, or combination. But here I am, much better. I still have a little bit of a scratch in throat, but not as bad as that day when we were talking aspirin. I just could not talk that day. Okay, so this is the second part of the story. Skyfrog is saying, just kidding. And then, yep. And then finally, I wanted to share one more thing. So Dr. Paul Marek, he called me, I think last week, Friday or some day last week, and he said, "Hey Mubin, I am just sitting at the airport. I'm traveling, and I'm reading this study, which is really interesting, and that was about the mitochondrial damage and neuroinflammation and neurological symptoms in long COVID patients." So I'm actually going to produce that video for FLCCC and for myself as well, for Dr. Bean channel. I thought I'll give you a preview of what this discussion is, and also give you, don't tell anyone, one of the team members did research, and Dr. Marek had asked for it, not me, somebody else did the research for what are the possible solution if mitochondrial dysfunction is occurring because of reactive oxygen species. So I wanted to discuss this. The basic answer is they found out magnesium and CoQ10 are great. In addition to melatonin, we all know that melatonin is so much important for the mitochondrial um, rebalancing. But I can't take melatonin, it gives me nightmares even if I do small dose. Then the CoQ10 and magnesium are very important for protecting the mitochondria and kind of helping them be restored. So let's look at this for a second. This is just a preview. I did rest KB Usenits. One problem that I have with the rest is that when I'm resting, I cannot really just lie down and rest. My brain is just thinking about various studies, various medical concept, connecting the dots, looking at the business. It just rest is really so. I would rather just get up and do something, but I did rest. Barbara and Lotus, welcome. Augie says, when posting new FLCCC talks. So I will do a talk tomorrow. This study that I'm going to give you a preview, will do that for Dr. Bean. Plus, I'll produce that for them as well. So they would then produce it later on. So Kelly is leaving. Good night, Kelly. Bambi's here. Hey, Bambi, how are you? So, Bambi, there are many reasons for the abnormalities or irregularities in the periods. These mechanisms will maybe possible too. The reason that I'm so iffy is because I don't have a study. But from a mechanism point of view, yes, it is possible. Okay, so let's look at quickly that study. Let's do it. So, preaching to the choir, take advantage of Dr. Bean, really low prices. Okay, here, this is the study. Mitochondrial dynamics in SARS-CoV-2 spike protein treated human microglia. Implications for neuro-COVID. This is really important because neuro-COVID is really bothering people, and rightfully so. So what they did was they had in a petri dish, they had neuroglial cells. These are really macrophages of the brain. And as I said, brain does not like to interact with the remaining immune system cells or their markers. It just does not want to do that because that would be a problem. So let's say these are some microglia cells. The mitochondria is usually present. Let's say this is the nucleus of the cell. Mitochondria are usually present around the nucleus. Why is that the case? The reason for that is that when the cell is functioning and cell is getting lots of information or signals from outside, cell is getting signals from inside, as a result of all of those signals, cell has to do something. The cells are working all the time. So from inside the brain, the DNA, various genes open up and messenger RNA is formed. That RNA is sent out. This RNA then becomes in the ribosomes, they use this to make proteins. All of this takes energy. The cell's brain is nucleus. That nuclear function takes energy. So the mitochondria just kind of surround this area like a powerhouse to allow the nuclear functions to occur and then to allow the protein formations to occur. So that is one. Now, what they found was that if those microglia had the spike protein on them, So if we put the spike protein in the presence, this spike protein is such a weirdo. It does not behave well in the presence of anyone. So if they put the spike protein in the presence of a microglia, so many spike proteins here, 1s2, what it causes is the damage to the mitochondria. And that damage is reactive oxygen species based damage. So that means, and I discuss as that today as well, what happens is that we know that spike protein disrupts the nitric oxide pathways. When those pathways are disrupted, plus it engages the K beta pathway for inflammation, it suppresses the nitric oxide pathway, which reduces the reactive oxygen species controls. And those reactive oxygen species then start attacking things around. This is like having someone with a gun inside the cell, which is just pointing gun everywhere and shooting. And so these little mitochondria get damaged. Now, when the mitochondria are damaged, the cell's energy system is damaged. When that is damaged, the whole system would undergo number one, apoptosis of the cells. Number two, it is going to cause local inflammation, and neurological outcomes will occur. So, what did they see? And I have already given you my biggest curiosity was, if this is happening, and this was Dr. Paul Marik's curiosity as well, that if this is happening, what is the possibility to help these poor mitochondria? And we found the studies, which I would discuss as well at one point. Magnesium and CoQ10 were very important. That means there is a potential at some point for some researchers to use this to see if that would work with long COVID. So let's look at this study for a second. They're saying, our results show that SARS-CoV-2 spike protein increases the level of pro-inflammatory cytokines, nuclear factor kappa B and others, and reactive oxygen species production, because nitric oxide pathways go down, which control the production of ROS, or kind of blunt the production of ROS, increases apoptosis. Why? Because a cell that says, hey, I'm under stress and I cannot control it, it's going to die. That is apoptosis. Now you know the difference between apoptosis and pyroptosis. Apoptosis is that cell would tag itself, say, I'm going to die, please clean me out. And a macrophage would come and eat it and remove it without releasing any inflammatory markers. It's a quiet death, and it's a regular, normal death. On the other hand, pyroptosis is producing the inflammasomes and leaving the markers and causing lots of noise before the cell dies and kicking up the cytokine storm. So here, apoptosis and increases the oxygen consumption rate. The more oxygen that is consumed, the more reactive oxygen species will be formed. And if the ROS suppressing system is not functioning correctly, then the reactive oxygen species are going to cause more damage. Increase in OCR are indicative of increased, see, even they are saying it, reactive oxygen species production and oxidative stress, suggesting that SARS-CoV-2 induces cell death. This is just such a weird virus. These data provide important mechanistic insights into SARS-CoV-2 induced mitochondrial dysfunction, which underlie neuropathology associated with neuro-COVID. So this is an important piece of information for folks who are suffering with neuro-COVID, to see that, hey, there may be help in terms of using magnesiums or CoQ10. Again, this is not a medical advice. This is more of an educational system. If you can just look for studies and say, for example, CoQ, and I have done this discussion in the past as well, CoQ10 and mitochondria um, dysfunction, you can actually see many studies that would help with that. So coenzyme Q10 protects against burn-induced mitochondrial, I'm sure, injury, burn-induced mitochondrial dysfunction and impaired insulin signaling in mouse skeletal muscle. There are many studies. The point was, um, look at this, coenzyme Q10 as a therapy for mitochondrial disease. Isn't that interesting? And finally, I have one more piece of information, and then we'll do our chit chat as well. Um, and I'm going to request my wife to join us and we'll discuss it, maybe not today. She went to her eye doctor today, and she said her eye doctor was shocked. And she was so shocked that she said a couple of things. One, she said, I'm going to talk with our professor and we want to do a case study on your method for helping your dry eyes. The second thing she did was she showed her pictures of eyes from last year and said, look at how bad they were versus how well. She said, I cannot even find any abnormality at this time. And she said, what did you do? And my wife told her the process, and she said it's just not possible. Her own son has it as well, and now she wants to do a study too. So that's a very interesting outcome. I'm going to request my wife to discuss it. Yesterday when she was talking about doctor's experience or discussion, um, there was a time that when her dry eyes became so bad that one day she said, I just cannot get rid of this irritating feeling. Something is scratching my eyes. She went to the doctor and they said, you have developed calcium deposits under your eyelids, and they plucked them, which caused bleeding. And she asked them, is there no other solution? And they said, no, you can use artificial tears and we will continue to do epiflow with you, where they presses the eyelids to activate the glands, and we'll just keep helping you with these calcium deposit removals. And she was saying to me, she said, when I saw those bleeding eyes, I said, this is it, I'm going to take care of myself. And since then, a year later, she is all fine with her eyes. DTS says Mrs. Bean will be more famous than Dr. Bean. Yes, the way she cannot win from me is that she does not like to be on camera. So I am always going to be the one. Thank you very much, Margaret. Yes, Manuka honey. Absolutely. Absolutely. That was a big deal. So I requested her, I said, many people sent me messages that where is that video where she talked about it, and I had removed those videos or hidden them. They're present on Odyssey, but I had hidden them from YouTube channel. So I would request her once more, and we'll just do one 5-10 minutes talk and leave it as it is without any chit chats around it. Another interesting thing about Rumble, so I was quite excited to go to Odyssey and Rumble. And so what I saw was on Rumble, there were some people. Um, there's a person from a long time who's been stalking me and keeps adding. He appears in every channel, whatever we open, and he insists on putting his messages there. And if you, they're weird, spammy messages, and if you don't let them be there, then he fights about it. So he was doing the same thing, and there is no way to moderate. And I removed his messages, and then he was upset that who removed my messages. And so I reached out to Rumble to say, what is the way to make sure that there is no spam? And they didn't respond. And I'm their paid customer because for the live stream, I have to pay them monthly. Then I found out on Rumble, there are other channels who have taken my videos and just uploaded them. So I reached out to Rumble and I said, please remove them. And no response at all, nothing. So it is such a messy place. that I decided to not be on Rumble anymore. So I'm going to wait till tomorrow for their response. If there is no response, I'll cancel the live subscription and just shut down the channel there. It's not worth it. And we'll just stay with Odyssey and YouTube. who, who was saying, was that Skyfrog? Augie says, was that Skyfrog? No. Is this true? Did you hear about the German guy who took 90 vaccine shots in order to sell the vaccine cards? Is it true? Would true niacin be helpful with mitochondria? Maybe. Maybe. So I made on the Substack, I made KoolBeens Cafe. So I wanted to discuss that with you as well, actually. So I thought I'll do it tomorrow, but let's do it today. On the KoolBeens Cafe, on the Substack, and we'll discuss it tomorrow on the main channel as well. I'm going to have 2 more team members whose job will be to start writing that book, which we decided in the past. And there's a tiny bit of a cost for the team. So I'm going to do a GoFundMe to see. I think within 2-3 months, Substack itself can be self-sufficient, that people can take subscriptions and then that money can go to the team members who are helping transcribe and write the articles from the videos. And that way it would become a book-like thing. And then once we have sufficient articles, we can then publish them as well in the form of a book. So do you feel that that may be an interesting thing to do? Alexander says, does streaming to Rumble and Odyssey take twice the bandwidth on DrBeen side? I have not seen that. So what I do is I use StreamYard. So I think it should not. I use StreamYard. StreamYard takes my stream once and then they do the multicast. The problem is that for StreamYard and Rumble and Odyssey, I have to re-watch those real time so that I can look at the chats. So I have to one relay it, then I have to download it from both channels to be able to see the chats. So let me show you. This is actually so surprising. So if you go to Rumble, and if you say Dr. Mobeen, maybe Dr. Bean. Most of these are, for example, the sunflower and COVID-19 is not my channel. This is mine, Dr. Bean. Then you would see this Dr. Mobeen Sayed is mine as well. What did I see? I saw Pfizer, Dr. Mobeen Sayed. Yeah, look at this one. So this is Red Pill US Patriot. They are patriots, and they have simply picked up my videos and put them up. I commented under the videos to say, why did you steal my videos? They simply deleted the comment. So then I reached out to Rumble to say this is not right, and Rumble did not even respond. And if you see here, this is also Dr. Mobeen Sayed, Pfizer peer-reviewed study, some chasing the light. So their names are very patriotic and very enlightening, and they're stealing the content. I have no idea who is this OC Patriot. They have taken Dr. Mubin Sayed and Dr. Paul Bruce Patterson. Who is this chief nerd? He has taken this video there. This is some Frank Plugman. He has taken this video. So the whole set of people have just taken videos. So that was interesting. Janet says Dr. Bean is a cult patriot. Augie says it's probably the Russians. Stanley says, anybody recovered from long COVID? I can't seem to find the answer to this in average duration. Thank you. Yes, many. So my observation so far, of course, you cannot have information about long COVID more than the COVID time itself. So a couple of years. But I have seen many severe cases, debilitating cases, without much help, gradually continue to recover within a year, 15 months, and become okay. Or enough okay that they are able to function properly and they know, if I do this, I can get it triggered. If I eat that, it can be triggered. And if it is triggered, I'm going to be down for a couple of days and I'll be okay. Or they know I'll take, let's say, LDN and I'll be okay, bounce back. Those that have been taking help, I think that I Recover protocol is one of the best so far I'm seeing. They recover within a few months, or they start recovering within a few months, and they start becoming functional. And these are the kind of things I'm seeing even within my own family as well. So we'll all make good recovery. The thing is this, we have to stay on it. The problem I'm seeing is, so I'm seeing, once again, just like with COVID, I'm seeing two groups of doctors. One group is just outright saying this is not even there. I think that group is reducing because long COVID at a mainstream level is getting more accepted. Even, for example, UK official stats have long COVID in them now. So it is kind of accepted. And I think in some way it is also accepted quickly to be able to then, for the health authorities to say, look, you're going to get long COVID, go get a vaccine. Because of that, there is a little more acceptance of the long COVID. But it is still not very clear to many doctors. So that is one group. And then the second group is who realize that there is long COVID, who realize we need to help patients. And that group is further divided in two groups. One that know some protocols or have their own thinking hat on, and they are experimenting with various anti-inflammatories and such drugs. And then the other group that knows there is something happening and they want to help, but they do not know how to help. And I think I Recover like protocols are a good starting points for that. T. Oliver says, have you heard this new snake? The Twitter is full of the snake and snake venom discussions. I have not looked into it. Bambi says, my nephew caught COVID-19 1 month after booster and is suffering from long COVID. So that's very sad. I'm so sorry. Bambi, is he taking some medicine? Sometimes I feel I should fly away from US, go to a country where I can station myself and actually start practicing more freely. I cannot practice here in the US, and I will not, and I don't. But sometimes I just think I should just open a clinic somewhere and start helping. It's just so bad. Being medical island. Skyfrog, you are on island for some days. You want to buy an island. I think we should buy an island and make it into a big, long COVID hospital. Meanwhile, in America, says good news. I spoke to a well-known COVID clinic today, and they acknowledged the prevalence and existence of vaccine injury. That's a very important thing. It would slowly become mainstream. But here is something that bothers me. It's the time is the essence, right? With the COVID, the time was essence as well, and with long COVID, time is essence as well. We have to really do it fast. They are dragging their foot on the vaccine injury. And if they would drag their foot, meanwhile, the people who are going through this, there are two damages that are occurring. Number one, there is a chance of permanent damages with long COVID to them who are not trying to help it fast enough. And number two, people have to pay from their pocket to get help because vaccine injury is not acknowledged or recognized. It's embarrassing. Skyfrog says with airport, yes. So Skyfrog, when I was on the East Coast, I had a friend, Tony. He had his own plane, and so one day we went from to meet another friend. So we went from Massachusetts to Maine. So the other friend was in Maine, and he said, "Why don't you all come in and we'll go to Acadia National Park and so on." Maine is where Margaret is as well. So we went to Maine by road. I think it was 5-6 hours drive, and Tony flew in. So he had his plane and he flew in. That was so funny. Barbara says, you heal so many people, yet you'll be very tired. I think at this time, we all have to rise up above our limits and try to do what we can. Kini says, if you fly away, I'm flying to follow you. Absolutely. Meanwhile, says in New York, we should buy an island and make it an independent nation where there is no boundaries on medical practice. Meanwhile, in America, says same with long COVID. The treatments are costing me thousands. Yes, it is a very sad thing. It's not necessary that everyone can do it, and those who are not able to do it and spending more time. Some, for example, tinnitus is becoming permanent in people who keep waiting for a long time. This is unbelievable that this is happening. Laurie, Laurie says, American Medical Journal came out this week with articles saying lufumectin absolutely does not work on COVID. With the Together trial, many are saying. I have not read it, but Dr. V here on YouTube says, please, that was published. Oh, well. So KB Usenet says, we're in Maine. So when I went to Acadia National Park. So we took a house, we rented a house nearby, and so we stayed there, and it was beautiful. I still cannot, I was new in the US in those days. And so we took a tour of the national park, Acadia, and I still remember fondly that the driver who was giving us a tour, he said, "Oh, look there is a deer." And we all started looking, and he said, "Well, not four-legged, it's a two-legged deer." So I still remember that joke. I'm so sorry about that, Super Alien. I paid so much money recently, all my savings almost gone. That is so sad. And this, how many ways people have suffered through this. Skyfrog says, oh dear. Yes. Four-legged or two-legged? Butterfly Kiss says, can you take a yacht in international waters and have clinics? I think that's a good idea. And nowadays there are lots of yachts available. Pirate ship, yes. Barbara Warren says that, love that idea. An island where KoolBeens, that's independent, nation based in wisdom and compassion. Yes. John 653 says, should we be concerned about on the US about BO2? So I wanted to look into that, meaning discuss that. I don't think that there is a reason to concern. There is, or to have a concern. There is cases that are changing. So if I say, so look at this. This was the Omicron wave, right? That was BA1 wave. This is BA2 and XE wave. So we have to put it in context. This is the wave. Some states have more, some states have less, but generally this is what we have. My suspicion is, so I've discussed BA1, I've discussed BA2, I've discussed XE, I've looked at Denmark studies, I've looked at UK studies. My suspicion is, and it's a suspicion, it's not a data backed one. My suspicion is that mainstream media is grasping at the straws to keep your attention, to be able to earn from revenue, ad revenue. And nowadays, the only way to do that is to just keep saying new variant, go home, we're going to put the masks on, like some states are trying to do. Look at this. This is the deaths. And again, it has actually stabilized in this state. And it has been since March, it was going down. So I don't know how worried we should be. I was thinking of actually, this is what happens when I'm resting. So I was resting and I was playing with my phone and I wanted to see every state and the numbers there and so on. So we'll do that. Nicholas, I have this book. Margaret says, question, what about Germany? But that question is to Skyfrog. So Denise says, how our Denmark deaths have skyrocketed the past 8 weeks. Let's look at it. So I wanted to share something funny with you. This thing that we're doing, apparently there are youngsters on Twitch and other channels where they play games and stuff. Nowadays, there is a trend which is called just chatting, where they come on live like this and they just chat in the chat, and the speaker just talks also as part of the chat, and that's it. And the youngsters are so excited about, oh, just chattings are so great. And I said, well, we are already doing it. We got there before you guys did. Okay, so Denmark. Number of cases are continuing to go down. Whenever I move this mouse button, I remember Doug Gross saying, this is a duck. Okay, so number of deaths. So these deaths, they went up and then went down again. So the highest was in March 10, and then they have been coming down. They went down on 29, then they went up again and then came down again. So it's interesting, but still downwards trending. That's Denmark. And then UK hospitalizations have like a slow burn, stealth Omicron. Let's see. So stealth Omicron is BA2. So UK cases, once again, put it in the context. Look at this spike, January 16, 804,735 cases, 1 million cases in one day versus 38,000 cases. So they did go up from 26,000 type cases to 38,000. But this is far cry from where they were. Duck, duck, duck. Okay, and the number of deaths, excuse me, they went up in February to 2,530, and now they're down to 540, 531. So one fourth. Hospitalizations will be interesting. Do we have that data here? Hospitalization. COVID hospitalizations. Okay, so let's see. UK is here. Their hospitalizations went up. You are correct, Denise, that hospitalizations went up like even more than the peak that they just had. Now, these hospitalizations, are these the result of the peak? But they are high. France is also high. United States is low. Canada is low. Yeah, so UK has more. You're correct, Denise, that UK has more hospitalizations. Denise says that Philadelphia has reinstated masks. So, yeah, some states are doing it. Yes, Philly brought the masks back as well. John says only 7% cases being reported. Yeah, it is really the hospitalizations and deaths that would be more indicative. France is not doing well and UK is hurting. I hate there's a business idea for that. Oh, I hear. Okay, so that's Texas saying. Helen says, "Where did you go, Skyfrog? Skyfrog, did you fly away?" Skyfrog says, "I want another vaccination." Okay, good one. So no, MSNBC says, "Are they still considering Novavax?" So I think so, but no. Let's see. And I also wanted to share that since we separated the chit chats from the main channel's viewership has actually increased. For example, last few videos, if you see, I'm just going to go to those videos. For example, the summary for ADE, 66,000 views 2-3 days ago. Was it 2-3 days ago? Day before yesterday. Similarly, the so my app just hung. Oh well, that is improved as well. So that's an interesting. So my conjecture was correct that Elgo is kind of protesting low viewership on chit chat. I think chit chats are actually more fun than the other part. Okay, let's see. Novavax, news and media. COVID-19. So April 13, Swiss Medic grants conditional marketing authorization for Novavax. April 8, Serum Institute of India, we talked about this before as well, receive authorization. March 31, Novavax submits request to expand conditional marketing authorization in Europe. Participation in booster studies using the COVID-19 in March. So I think US, they're just still waiting. There is no news. I do not know if they'll get the approval, considering US is just, they're not even making new boosters. Skyfrog says, collecting vaccine cards, soon I'll have enough to play poker. So, Dr. Bean. Bob channel says, I usually watch the Chit Chat, it does compete with Star Trek Deep Space. I love Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Watched it a couple of times, and now I usually can watch anything again and again because I forget it. But Deep Space, I remember it. So Jackert says, can pro ACE2 compounds help with long COVID? Seems like ACE2 inhibition could be a driving force. If it is ACE2, meaning that means either there is spike protein or there is anti-idiotypical antibodies, then my thinking will be, if you look at all of these diseases, if I go here for a second, so what's happening is, let's say this is a cell. In this cell, so let's say ACE2 is one way, then the anti-idiotypical antibodies are another. Let's say mast cells activation is another. Macrophage activation is another. Those exosomes that we discussed soon today, that may be another. At the end of the day, all of them, whatever damage they're doing, they're causing inflammation. So an immediate help has to be to work on the inflammation so that the patient starts feeling better. Then we have to figure out what are the possibilities. What is it that is causing the pathology, and then start attacking them one by one. I think that is the approach to take. What is a good question? I heard that MSNBC has a good question. Paxlovid. Paxlovid. Not in my family or patient group. Janet says clopidogrel and Plavix for the win, and triple therapy in positive coagulation and amyloid type microclots. Yes, Yes, rabbit foxes. Yes. Colombian Bean says good night on melatonin kicking in. Good night. Cells with ice, always cells with ice. It really irritates some of the medical professionals. Jody says, competes with my bedtime, but I stay up. Thank you very much. So Robin says, anyone studying the use of MCT oil for brain fog in long haul has been found to increase brain energy 8 to 9%. I have not. This is an interesting one too. Robin, can you send it to me in the Discord so I can have it in one place as a reminder? Vanilla bean, yes. So I had promised that I'll make that little monster, but I just could not get to it. I am going to do it. I wanted to make up the whole cell line of various cells with their eyes. Janet says serotonin and melatonin. Frisco Coupon says, any chance of presentation on the latest and most accurate, relevant ways to understand and measure cholesterol? There seems to be thoughts and a lot of outdated measurements and treatment. I think we should discuss that. I keep trying to figure out what other topics I should do, and then we something again pops up on COVID, and we start discussing that. Car, I'm not sure. So without looking at the trial data or some studies, I cannot just have a conjecture. So you're saying Covaxid type vaccine would be more effective than mRNAs, or did Omicron vaccine vaccinate us all, making vaccine useless? So generally, we are reaching a point where we are saying 93, 9, or more than that has gotten the antibodies. But somebody who still need the vaccine, I'm not sure about the. I just know about adenovirus and the messenger RNA more clearly because I've seen more data compared to others. Super Alien says, I'm a graphic designer. I can help you if you heal me. So I can present information. Eventually, you got to talk with a doctor who is convinced to use that information. What I did was on Substack and on Discord, and they're both on the not sorry not Discord, Patreon is not free. There people support me over there. On Substack, this is a free article where I put all the COVID videos in one place. Now with FLCCC, what I'm doing is I'm trying to put together a place for long COVID patient to start looking at various videos for education plus a protocol evolving from iRecover. So please keep in touch on the FLCCC. Look at the iRecover. Did you have that? Uh, did you use that? Or did your doctor work on that with you? Luffy is free. Luffy is out, but not at night. At this time, he's out. It's almost night. The poor thing is so cute that when you go out, he's a little animal. He doesn't know better. So what happens is he's been out now for the whole day almost. So you go down and he's sitting somewhere and you say, hey Luffy, and he'll come back in, and then you close the door. And then he finds out that, oh man, I'm now trapped inside. Then he howls for some time, then gives up and goes to sleep. So I feel bad every day that I get him in by saying, hey, Luffy, and he comes in. Someday he's going to learn that don't go in. Laurie is saying that, do you have any info on COVID is causing diabetes, all ages, which is weird. So I have done that discussion a few days ago. There are multiple theories. This is observed that diabetes occurs. Now, why is it doing exactly is not known. Multiple theories. One is whenever there is inflammation, there is stress on the body, and that can make us insulin resistance. Second is that the pancreas itself getting inflamed and having or producing less insulin. Third is the beta cell getting damaged. Fourth is that the other stress hormones like glucagon and other are produced more. So there are many theories. The exact mechanism is not known. I actually did a video on the main channel that says diabetes after COVID. So please, Laurie, check that out. So my super alien says my doctor is giving me low dose naltrexone. It is lower than they should. Normally a little higher. CBD oil, starting 2 days ago, I felt better. So usually patients that I'm seeing on dose naltrexone within 2 months. So that is 6 7 months later, they say, wow. So I'll give you my wife's example. Although I have stopped talking about her condition, I used to use her condition to discuss possible ways to manage it. And then someone used that case to somehow imply that I've done really bad, that my wife has the vaccine injury and I still say vaccines are good. And so they wrote an article about me, and then people just went mad, and it was just nasty. So um, my wife started having low dose naltrexone, and she said a couple of weeks later that it is not doing anything. Why am I taking it? And I said, please continue. So her doctor refilled her dose, gave her enough, and I said, just please continue. And 6 weeks later, she improved so much that a few days ago, her LDN was finished, and she was saying, I need to go get my LDN before I don't have it. Although then she didn't get it, and there was a few days gap, and she was fine. But still, she became so confident. But the first 6 7 weeks, it was very difficult to keep her convinced to keep taking it. Texas, that is actually, this person was actually a friend of mine and a friend of FLCCC as well. And I have no idea why they wrote such a nasty article. And his following is similarly nasty. Although they then removed it, I protested and I said, if there is any truth to this, then sure, write it. But I have never hidden. Actually, I have, to my wife's displeasure, I have used her case to help understand how what can happen, how various medicines work. And he implied that as I was deceiving people. So I protested and I said, this is wrong, this is foul. And he had the moral courage to actually remove that article and then apologize as well. But since then, his followers to this day um, write all kind of nasty things. That is correct. I understand. So my wife also had for some months this injury, and interestingly, she didn't want to take anything, and her doctor did not agree at all. He simply said, this is Bell's palsy, it happens at this age and it's going to be permanent. When it becomes more, come back to me and I'll give you Botox injections. Similarly, um, for the other issues as well, he just simply said age. I kept saying we need to be fast about it, we need to get ahead of it. So finally, when it becomes too bothersome for her, she said, okay. And so we had to go away from her doctor to some other doctor who knew me and my protocols and understood uh, that there is a possibility of helping. And then they started her on medicines. And as I said, for some weeks, she actually complained that what is it doing? It's doing nothing. And then, boom, all of a sudden, 6, 7 weeks into it, she started feeling better. Her vitamin D levels are actually better than mine. She's more sensitive to proper supplement levels in those. Correct. This friend turned out to be a similar friend. Kini, thank you very much. Yeah, so um, correct, John. I have no idea what do they know, why they are so harsh. So I think now my voice is giving up. Alicia says we need names. There are so many. They're just all over the place. So before these weirdos, uh, crazies, I used to actually go to various social media platforms and look at people and interact with them. And now I just don't. I don't even care. So, couple of things that I thought were interesting. The conspiracy theorists caused so much of muddying that normal discussions became impossible as well, because they just added so much poison in the system and so much discomfort and ignorance that standard discussions became difficult to have as well. And similarly, the folks who just keep attacking each other, they have created such strong holds of grouping that once again presenting the truth even to help has become impossible. So even now, even the help is only seeked, if that's a word, from those that people believe, and it's not necessary that everyone is thinking on the right lines. Super alien, I cannot give a medical advice. My family members, they take 2 milligram in the evening. I actually believe 3 to 4.5 up to that level in the evening is fine. But normally, the way LDN is increased is, and this is from the books, that low dose naltrexone is given, let's say, starting with 1.5 milligram and then given for a week. And if it causes side effect, then you half it and let the side effects go and then double it again. And then anytime you want to go up or down, you double it or half it, but don't go beyond 4.5. But some people actually, doctors go to 10, which I can't understand, but they do that. Eric Dog is here. Where is Eric Dog? I saw someone saying hi to Eric Dog. Margaret says the bad guys are ill-bred, frightened, insecure. Yeah, they just have their own pain as well. Meanwhile, in America says please rest. So let's take your permission for today, and we go from there. So please like, subscribe, and share. And in addition, if you would like to take advantage of premium awesome content on drbeen.com, there is a link in the description for, I think, couple of lunches is the right amount. Just for 2 lunch, for example, you can have access, lifetime access to all the content and the new content that is coming in. It's one time. So take advantage of that. In addition to this, there is a link there. Eric is here. Dr. Bean, I'm here, little townward, lowward, down a paper chase, etc. Doing well. Excellent. Good to know. And welcome. This is a good question, Skyfrog. LDN in foods or supplements? No. Robin, art this week. Yeah, so I wanted to do art tomorrow. So if my wife did not want to be online for her eyes, then we'll do art tomorrow. So there are links as well to use PayPal to support this work, or buy me a coffee that does not need PayPal, or you can become a patron as well. So with this, yes, so Betsy, let's do art tomorrow. So maybe tomorrow we'll do a regular topic. I want to talk about this neuroinflammation and mitochondria. Then if my wife agrees, let's do that eyes recap, and we leave it as a separate talk, and then let's do art. Alquin says Alquin will be flying. Well, safe travels, and I'll see you after you have flown. And bye bye for now. Thank you.